Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Columbus This Week with Trevor and Eric, bringing you all the latest, best news and stories and all that good stuff that's going on here in Columbus. So to kick it off today, Trevor, as you, I'm sure you're well aware, we have some very sad, tragic news. That is that the FCC has finally betrayed the American people, and the repeal of the net neutrality regulations has passed. So we're gonna at least have to wait until I think 2020 to get a new president, and then maybe we'll get net neutrality back or something, and then 4 years later another idiot will get elected office and they'll take it away again, and we'll just have this back and forth stupidity forever.
Were you ever pro net neutrality?
Who? Me?
I mean, or sorry, wow, that's not what I meant to say. Were you ever pro FCC though?
I'm fine with them as long as they're doing a good job. They're not doing a good job with...
The FCC has never done a good job, though. The FCC...
Well, they did a good job with the net neutrality. Well, they did have, one problem with it, but...
So how about the whole, I don't know, being responsible for all censorship on television, radio, and pretty much every other media that gets qualified as public ever?
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that, but... I don't know.
I've never met anybody who was under the age of 50 who's oh yeah, I love the FCC.
Well, I don't like them. I don't really have an opinion on them other than I hate them, I guess, now, because and it's not them, it's really just the three idiots who are anti net neutrality. So, but I will say I have gotten email support stuff from Congress, from one or more Congress people, saying hey, I'm even a Republican. They're oh, I'm pro net neutrality. It's yeah, anybody who's not a complete idiot is. So anyway, so that happened a few days ago, which is sad. And then today the tax bill that we talked about last week actually passed, so that will be going into effect. I'm pretty happy with some of the things in it, but largely don't think it's that great of a tax plan. So
I mean, it works out well for me. I don't know about you.
Yeah, it works out great for me too, but I still don't know. I still don't think it's a very good tax bill. But
who are the big losers? The people with nice houses?
No. It's not just that. Those are the good things. It's I don't know. Taxing grad student tuition as there's just stupid things like that. I don't think it's. I don't really think it's. So I mean, we have a huge wealth inequality problem, and I don't think the tax bill is doing enough doing really anything to address that. Is what I'm concerned with. But
I mean, I think it does, but I mean, we've sort of hashed it out a little bit.
Yeah,
I think the biggest thing it does is for working class, low income families, they are gonna get more money.
Yeah.
The problem is that money is basically coming from the deficit at this point.
True, and then it's also coming from programs and services that they will probably tend to use. So it's yeah, we're cutting those services that you use, and then here's the money.
I don't think that's part of the tax bill, though.
I mean, how are they going to fund it? They're gonna they're gonna have to cut government services. There's no way around that.
We should just cut every government service by 5%.
Well,
across the board, which would mean that the majority of the money would come from the military, and then
okay. So we talked about this last week, and I wanted to bring a statistic for you. So although we do spend a lot of money, on the supporting the military industrial complex, apparently it's only 3% of GDP.
Yeah, it's only 3% of GDP, but
it's I know it's a lot of money, but 3%. It's not 50.
But it's 30% of our taxes. It's 30% of combined cumulative taxes for the country. I'm pretty sure it is.
Perhaps, yeah.
The only thing that's bigger is healthcare, Medicaid, or sorry,
Social Security,
Social Security and Medicaid, which are grouped together for whatever reason.
Well, it's because the Republicans want one big thing to attack, so they just attack that.
Do you think the Republicans attack fucking Medicaid and Social Security?
Yeah, of course they do. They're always talking about making amendments and changes. Even though you would think that they would want, they're I don't know. A lot of times they're supported by older people, so you would think that they wouldn't attack their base. But
I've never actually seen the Republicans. I can't think of an actual instance where they did something they would effectively cut that.
I mean, they might not have done anything, but I've heard a lot of we're spending too much money on Medicaid and blah blah blah.
Neither party can really afford to take that political hit.
Yeah, But well, what's stupid about like the whole Medicaid thing is the Republicans are all like, oh, we can't afford to pay for people's health care, and then it's like, well, hello, Medicaid, like how many that pays for like 30 or 40% of Americans like health care. The government's already paying for it. It's just a matter of like us getting over it, I guess. But okay, so let's move on to some events. So I actually have a plethora of events. I like using big words like that.
Gaggle.
Yeah, a gaggle of events. So one of my favorite things is like names for groups of animals. So this could be like a glaring of events, which I think a glaring is like a group of raccoons or something.
A bevy of events.
Yeah. Well, what's a blessing of unicorns? That's always a good one. So I have a blessing of events for our listeners today. Well,
I think a murder of events would be the best.
Yeah. Well, I can't do the first one because it occurred a day ago. So let's move on. It's same with the second one.
Oh, God.
Okay, so moving on to the third event. Supporting your startup, C-Bus Resources, December 21st, 11 a.m. to noon, so lunchtime event. And this is at Rev 1. It's free. And if you have an idea for starting a company or just want to connect with other entrepreneurs or learn about some different resources in the area, this is a pretty great event to go to. I know Andrea is one of the people who are like hosting this event. She's awesome. So I know, you'd be in good hands with her. And I don't know the other guy that's hosting it, Mike. I don't think I've met him, but Andrea's pretty cool. So Rev 1's always a good place to go hang out anyway. So that's going on December 23rd, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Espresso Introduction to Preparing Espresso. It's $50, but I think it would be kind of cool because, you're probably going to go in, make a bunch of espresso, drink it, get hyped up on caffeine, and learn how to make not bad coffee. So
yeah, as somebody who knows how to make coffee, that seems way, way, way overpriced.
Well, yeah, but their target market's not us.
It's like the plebs.
Yeah. So this is the December 23rd, if I didn't say that, at Mission Coffee, and on December 21st from 5:30 to 7, there's a Boomeranger Open House, and this is basically an event for people who didn't leave the city for the holidays. So there will be some speakers like Tom Walker, CEO of Rev 1, Don Dickinson, founder and CEO of Solutions Vending, Zach Ellis, director of new ventures from the Ohio State University, Robert Hatta is a partner at Drive Capital, and Larry Scott is co-founder of and CTO of ScriptDrop. So if you're looking for something to do on the 21st and feel like listening to some of our kind of like economic I don't want to say leaders, but kind of people in the forefront of doing stuff here, that could be kind of cool.
The gurus.
Yeah, the gurus.
The advisors, the czars.
Yeah, the thought leaders.
I like czars.
Yeah.
I don't know why that unironically
they should
became
change,
popular.
They should change Ajit Pai's like title to czar instead of whatever.
No, Chairman Pai already sounds very,
czar,
very...
yeah, Chairman Pai, yeah.
No, if he had a more Russian name, that would
True.
be... Yeah. Like imagine his name was like Vladovsky or something.
Yeah. Okay. So we got some construction news going on too. There's a new state of Ohio or state of the art ice hockey facility on its way to Columbus, which will be cool. It's aimed at like right off Sawmill Road as far as like the location goes. So $12 million and 85,000 square feet. So that's kind of cool if you like playing hockey. The Ohio State. So we have a good article from the Lantern about some stuff that's going to be going on in the arts district. So this is kind of this is like Ohio State owned land, and they're basically planning on doing a bunch of construction there, which would be kind of cool. So they're talking about like 103,000 square foot buildings, a new theater, a whole bunch of other stuff. So that's pretty cool, and they're looking at like 15th Street and High as a location for that. And there's a new 20-acre mixed-use development coming to Whitehall. So gentrification in full swing.
I mean, Whitehall's not like there are really nice parts of Whitehall. I don't know if you knew that.
No, I didn't know that.
Like Whitehall itself is a large incorporated area. It's just like the poorest large incorporated area.
All right.
I mean, it's not like Linden where it's all
Yeah.
bad. It's just kind of a lot bad.
Yeah. So anyway, they're looking at 20 acres of mixed-use development. The project announced last fall 360 residential units, a restaurant, community center, some office buildings, large green space, and some other good stuff. So that's pretty cool too. So that's what our Lego master developer city simulator people are doing this week, Trevor.
Good. Glad to hear.
Yeah. That doesn't have you worried that there's too much construction going on still?
I mean, I told you my concern. I've reiterated the point like 3 times.
Do you think it's more
now.
concerning now that they're building something in Whitehall?
No. No, that's even I think it's even lower risk. Or not I shouldn't say lower risk. I should say the capital that's at risk is less.
Yeah.
But yeah, the risk is always a company folding and then leaving behind garbage.
Yeah, true.
And the risk goes up the longer we're in an upturn where people decided I want to get in on this.
Yeah.
And it's like we talked about last week. You know, you try to like get in on Bitcoin, you jump in at like 19,000, and then you're screwed.
Yeah. And then Coinbase does insider trading, and Bitcoin Cash gets listed, and then you lose money. I didn't, but other people might.
Right, but I mean, my point is largely that that this far into an economic upturn, I personally, as somebody, you know, I'm not a developer.
As a multi-billion-dollar development company.
Yeah,
Trevor Incorporated.
I wouldn't be jumping in, but also they really, to some extent, they don't have a choice because they probably have shareholders who want profits next quarter, which sucks.
Yeah, true.
All right, so is that it for construction?
That's it.
All right, let's move on to the 2 minutes hate. Hopefully this will be 2 minutes. We have 2 articles, 2 minutes. That's let me do the math. Yeah. I think that's about
I actually have something I'm going to add, but you can go first. So I think mine only lasts like 30 seconds.
All right. First up, Facebook has finally allowed you to or they have fixed a long-standing bug, quotation marks here,
Air quotes.
which prevented you from blocking Mark Zuckerberg. Now you can finally block Mark Zuckerberg on Facebook.
Thank God. Oh yeah, with my Facebook account, I'm going to do that.
This is so silly.
Yeah.
He's going to run for office.
Yeah, it's only a matter of time.
There's like 1,000,000% chance. He's already talking about UBI and stuff.
Yeah. He has the ultimate like platform for it.
So when does he start donating his money to the people?
Never.
Yeah, no. I figured.
The only thing I wonder about is if he'll like, I mean, when he runs for president, well, I guess Trump didn't do it, but like they always want you to release your taxes. Like, all right, you got to release your tax returns, blah, blah, blah. So I don't know. If,
Zuckerberg doesn't have anything to worry about. He's like he's a Silicon Valley billionaire. Like
does he?
He probably doesn't.
Probably not. Yeah.
Construction and like real estate's way more shady in general.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so Trevor, here's my story for the 2 minutes of hate. This is my like guest story for your segment here. So, you know what always grinds my gears is that the lift codes for the weekend. I don't know if you know about those. Are you familiar with that?
You've talked about them on the podcast before and how you're in love with them.
So, yeah, it's great because I get free rides downtown. Like now, because all these noobs found out, they're done. They're like sold out of the free lift codes in like 2 minutes. So there's all like I guess they post like the codes on their Facebook page, and then somebody will post it on Reddit. And I check the Columbus subreddit once in a while, especially on Thursdays when they come out. Or sorry, I mean Fridays when they come out. Definitely not Thursdays. So for our 600 listeners, Fridays is when those come out. But it's like now I can't even get one because all these other people found out about it. So that really, I hate that. So,
all right. Well, as long as we're keeping you up to hate.
Yeah.
All right. So let's move on to Columbus news then.
All right. So the first news story we have is the minimum wage is actually going to increase. So Trevor, do you know how much it's going to increase to?
No.
It's going to increase to the shell-shocking amount of $8.30 per hour for non-tipped employees.
Okay.
So that's happening.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Do you like minimum wage?
So the problem is that, I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of exemptions to minimum wage that shouldn't exist, and I also don't think it's super effective in what it does, because the thing is, if you do away with minimum wage, people just automate jobs. If you raise minimum wage too high, they automate jobs. And if you don't enforce a minimum wage, what you see happen is people typically just build stuff in more rural areas.
And the cost of living is cheaper.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I don't think it's a big deal from where I sit. The people I know who are the most anti minimum wage are people who make slightly above minimum wage.
Why?
Why do you think? Because I mean, it's a basic economic fact that like when you raise minimum wage, the price of all basic goods, so like milk, bread, etc., go up.
Yeah.
And so if you make let's say you make $9 an hour, this minimum like you lose money with this minimum wage increase.
So if you're not making minimum wage or slightly above it, you kind of lose out.
Yeah. So I think there are two classes of people who minimum wage is a really big deal for, and it's the people who make minimum wage and the people who make slightly above. None of the rest of the people, not the unemployed, and then not the people who make like us who make significantly more. Yeah. We're really not affected.
Right.
The cost of milk going up doesn't really affect us.
Yeah. Mostly because I don't drink milk, but
how dare you?
Okay. So that's going to go into effect next year. And related, so this isn't really Columbus news, but it's close enough. The construction begins on the first legal marijuana greenhouse in the state. So get ready, because pretty soon we're all going to be high and communists.
I just want to point out that so the marijuana greenhouse is being built, but marijuana is not legal yet.
Yeah,
they're just like, all right, don't worry about it, guys. We're just going to sit on this. We'll just wait. We'll just get all our shit ready. Just tell us when it's go time.
Yeah. So we'll see. Hold on, sorry, you got to cut this. I gotta yawn.
So what's that you said? Leave it in. Leave the yawn in.
Oh fuck, that was a huge one. Okay. All right. So in related news, so with marijuana being illegal, of course, opioids are still legal, and the city of Columbus has filed a lawsuit against 25 different drug companies, and this is quoting the article is quoting the city's lawsuit, is the opioid addiction epidemic is the result of a well-developed marketing scheme to sell opioids for the treatment of chronic pain. And I say hell yeah, because that is exactly what they did. So
prove it.
Oh, they will.
I mean, I doubt it.
Oh, they will. Oh yeah,
because ultimately
there's no, it's like the I mean, even promoting them as wonder drugs or whatever they have largely done is, I mean, so you remember what was it stat about like West Virginia that like I can't remember what it was, but like the rate of like opioid prescription was like, like 1,000 pills per person or just something ridiculous, and the doctors just hand them out like candy, and then they all got sued for it.
Right, but that's the doctors. Right now we're talking about the city is suing.
Well, no, the pharmaceutical companies got sued too. The doctors went to jail. Thankfully.
Right, the cities are suing. The city of Columbus is suing drug companies.
Yeah.
Proving malice on the part of drug companies is going to be a hell of a lot harder than proving on the part of doctors. Doctors is the easy target, the soft target to take down. For drug companies, there's a long chain of evidence you have to target. First of all, you have to show intent. Second of all, you have to show like actual manipulation of the doctors, right? Because it's not like the pharmaceutical companies are sprinkling pills to the patients. They have to go through a doctor. So you have to prove that they were knowingly manipulating the doctors somehow, and that they had intent to do that, or I mean, they had intent to do that for some malicious purpose. It's a lot harder than just going after docs.
So here's from the lawsuit. Well, one of the actual distributors being sued is Cardinal Health, which is based out of here. In case our listeners don't know that,
I didn't realize Cardinal was a pharmaceutical.
Well, they're a distributor. So, and they're like the 14th or 15th largest company in the U.S.
I thought they were just healthcare. That's interesting.
No, they're big time. That's what they do is pharmaceutical distribution. So, but the lawsuit that the city of Columbus filed in federal court says that it claims that the Columbus itself, the city, has suffered significant harm and damages, including but not limited to the breakdown of families, increased health insurance costs, increased police and fire usage, increased usage of the criminal justice system, and other significant harms. Columbus also is faced with a significant addiction problem it must abate and remedy. And the cities of Cincinnati, Dayton, Toledo, and the state of Ohio have also fielded lawsuits. So it's not just Columbus, but we're talking about Columbus because that's what this podcast is typically about. But
well, so they still have to prove that like it's the fault of the pharmaceutical companies and not the drugs, right? Because it's not like they're banning the drugs, because the drugs have valid uses.
Yeah, they do.
So they have to actively show that it's the actions of the company and not the existence of the drug. Because they have to show that the drug is worthwhile to exist while simultaneously showing that the actions of the companies are such that that the companies need to pay, or need to respond punitively.
Yeah. So here's what I'll say though, is that they wouldn't sue if they didn't think they had a case.
On the other hand, you can sue anyone for anything, and
yeah, but it's not just Columbus though. It's other large cities and the state. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying I maybe we can't. We're not lawyers. So maybe we can't drum up the case, or you're kind of like against. I'd say you're kind of against the case in terms of like the outcome. Like you know what I mean. Like I think you're kind of like, I don't think it's gonna fly kind of thing.
So I get what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
If I were given a 50-50 bet as to whether or not the case would succeed, I'd say no. The thing you're not considering, though, is that the most likely outcome by far for this is going to be an out-of-court settlement where an undisclosed sum is paid.
Yeah, which is fine because that's a win for the city.
Yeah. Actually, it might not be an undisclosed sum because they're dealing with
It's
city.
A city, so it probably will be disclosed, yeah.
But the reason won't be disclosed, and they won't admit negligence. That's going to be the actual outcome.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's, what could end up happening. I don't know. But okay, are you ready for something actually controversial though, Trevor?
I doubt anything Columbus related is controversial.
Oh, this is really controversial. This is the most controversial story we've had.
Like all year?
All year, all of last year.
More controversial than the opinion that sour beer is bad?
Well, that's not controversial. It's just bad.
No, this is a very controversial opinion.
No.
Only 50% of this podcast's, like, what do you call them?
Hosts?
Yeah, hosts even agree with that statement.
Okay. So, Trevor, are you ready for the top 10 neighborhoods of 2017 for Columbus?
Yep.
All right. So I'll do 10 to 1.
Okay.
So coming in at number 10, bum, 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 drum roll, the King Lincoln District.
Literally where?
Don't know what that is either. Okay. Number 9.
This list is already garbage. We haven't heard of one of the top 10.
No, well, you hear this next one. Number 9, the University District.
So how many districts are there? Is this like top 10 out of 12? Because
probably.
I wouldn't want to live near campus.
Yeah. All right, so number 8, Old North Columbus.
That's fairly reasonable.
Okay.
Honestly, I'd probably put that higher.
Okay. Well.
The only problem is you get murdered if you go east, but aside from that, it's a good neighborhood.
Yeah. Speaking of east, number 7 is Old Town East.
Old Town East. That's kind of it's an area that's becoming hipsterville. Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Number 6, Clintonville. Number 5, Italian Village. Number 4, Victorian Village. Number 3, German Village. Number 2, Grandview. And number 1, Downtown. So what are your thoughts on that ranking?
Like the top 4 are just kind of a blob that all connect with each other.
Yeah. And Italian Village, actually. And actually, all these things kind of connect to each other.
Well, I don't know where Italian Village is, actually.
Really? It's like right next to the Shore North.
Oh.
But like on the right side.
Right? You can't... It's not how this works.
No, like look, if you... All right, I'll pull up a map.
So, so assuming we're looking at a map that is north-facing, it would be on the right side, which would mean it's east.
Yeah, so it's on the right side.
Wow, I remember...
Like right next to it.
You could say east. Jesus.
Hold on, I'll show you.
No, all you had to do was say it was east. You don't...
Well, no, but it's like not. It's like on the
you
right.
Can't
it's
use
on the right. Like I just look at Short North and it's just on the right side.
You can't use relative directions when you're describing locations.
Why not? I did. It worked. You're like all of our listeners just understood me. So.
Oh my god.
Okay.
What if they're southbound? Then it's on the left.
Well, no. You always look in the map with north like up.
What if you're one of those weird people who like?
Then I don't want you listening to the podcast, and I'm not giving you direction.
Set your GPS to like always face your current direction.
Trevor, do you know where like First Avenue is?
Yeah.
And you know where High Street is?
Yeah.
Or 23? So, okay. Well,
anyways, yeah.
It's on the right side.
The list says downtown's the best woo.
Yeah.
You excited?
I don't live downtown. I live in the Brewery District, which didn't even make the top 12 or top 10, however many there are.
Well, maybe you should live in like the nice part of downtown.
Yeah,
instead of the sketchy part where everyone lives in brick houses.
No, I don't live downtown, Trevor. It's called the Brewery District. It's its own thing.
It's still downtown.
We have our own. Well, we have our own like.
I basically consider like Grandview downtown, German Village downtown. That stuff's all downtown.
No.
Old Town East is definitely downtown.
No, downtown. They're talking about like actually downtown.
Nobody lives there.
No, there's like 10 or 15,000 people that live downtown.
That's like nobody, dude.
Well, that's a lot for Columbus compared to what it was before.
That's like 3% of Columbus proper's population. That's not very much.
3% of the cool people. They all live downtown. Apparently, because that's what the list says. So,
anyways, let's move on from your dumb list.
Okay. And so in more related news, did you know that Kroger has meal kits now?
Yeah, I do, and they're dumb and they're overpriced.
Oh, okay. Well, all right. Next story.
Good talk.
Yeah. Basically, that was more or less the story was that Kroger has meal kits. I hadn't heard about that. So.
It's like a meal for two for $14.
I mean, that's cheaper than stupid Blue Apron,
which is also overpriced. All these meal things.
I'm just saying at least it's cheaper than Blue Apron. At least it's not like some San Francisco company.
I mean, Kroger's like what, a Pennsylvania company?
No, they're from Cincinnati.
Oh,
which is bad because it's Cincinnati. But
so I have this problem is I always mix up who like between Giant Eagle and Kroger, which one's from Pittsburgh and which one's from Cincy.
I think is Giant Eagle from Pittsburgh?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Unless it's from Philadelphia, I could be making that mistake too, but it's definitely from Pennsylvania.
Right, let's look it up. We got to give our listeners
just the facts here.
Yeah, this is Giant Eagle's website's awful. Jesus. Have you ever looked at it?
Why would you go to a grocery store's website?
Well, I typed in Giant Eagle and I just wasn't paying attention. So it was founded in 1918 in Pittsburgh. But
told you.
Kroger was founded in 1883 in Cincinnati. Holy crap, that's old. That's older than me.
Somehow.
Yeah.
For our listeners, Eric is ancient.
800, yeah. I'm as old as that shark they found.
You should see this man's beard. It's like he looks like Gandalf.
I wish. I'm going to grow it out that long, though, I think.
So. All right. Well, is that it for Columbus news then?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, with the holidays, there's just not as much going on as normal. So.
Yeah. I think everyone just gives up on doing anything in Columbus, including me, during the holidays.
Yeah. Which I'm cool with, so. All right, Trevor. So we're going to move on to our debate discussion piece, and I'm going to hit you with a big wallop, just like a home run, like right to your face. So some guy on Reddit. So that's how the story starts out. Some guy on Reddit found out through benchmarking tests and blah 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 that if you replace the battery in an older iPhone, like an iPhone 6 or an iPhone 5S or something that's been out for 2 or more years, the phones run a lot better. So what turns out the reason for that is that your battery has like a limited number of cycles it can go through, right? Well, until it like just doesn't hold a charge or what have you, right?
It's more complicated than that.
But for our listeners, it's good enough. So
yeah, so basically if you know how a half-life works, your battery basically has a half-life, and
it comes with a crowbar and fights aliens. Yeah, that was a Half-Life joke.
Not that kind of Half-Life.
Okay. But so anyway, so Apple, the iPhones, sorry. So anyway, the iPhones, like it just, people have been like, oh, like I have my phone for a long time, it's getting slower and slower. And the reason for that is what Apple does is when the battery starts becoming like a piece of crap, which happens with normal usage, they slow down the performance on the phone to preserve battery life, because otherwise what ends up happening is the phone, after you've had it for a couple of years and you've been through X number of cycles of the phone, whatever the normal battery life is. The battery life would end up being like 3 or 4 hours versus like all day battery life. So Apple they have an algorithm in the phone to detect like what's going on with, the battery life, the performance, blah, blah, blah. And then once they have noticed that the battery's like bad, they automatically kind of slow the performance down. So
why don't they just give you the option?
Well, the thing is, Trevor, is that they have to always, like, you always got to keep in mind, like, who are using the phones, right?
Well, is there an option hidden away in some menus? Because that's what Android will typically do, right? They assume their users are stupid, and then you sort of have the ability to prove otherwise. And then
so I think Apple just assumes that people are stupid no matter what.
I see. Don't even give you the option.
Yeah,
like there's a lot of cool stuff you can do on an Android phone that's hidden behind developer mode, where you have to like tap the credits 5 times or something.
Okay.
And I use a couple of those features on my phone, but like they don't make it easy to access on purpose. There's like no way for a normal person to even get into those menus.
Yeah.
Like you have to look up the way to do it online.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like there are some people who are freaking out about it, and it's like why are people even freaking out about this? Like who cares? Like just replace the battery. What's the big deal? Like,
I would definitely
things degrade over time, so
I would definitely prefer they not like ruin the performance to increase battery life.
To be fair, it's not just them that do, like other companies do that too. So
it would also really depend for me on what the battery life is, because like right now my current phone, I probably said this before, but like it gets like 4 days of battery life. Yeah. If that gets dropped to like 2, and then my phone is like, hey, we're gonna start throttling your processor in order to preserve battery life, I wouldn't want that. I'd be like, I can get by on like a day and a half of battery life. So
but what we're talking about is like hours. So even though I don't really believe that your phone actually gets, so you got to keep in mind like what a typical person's like doing on their phone. They're on it all day, so they need like, for them, like battery life is it's a 1 day all day thing. So only being able to use it for like 3 or 4 hours, like it's like a non-starter.
Well, I mean, it depends on the phone then, right? Because some phones get crazy battery life. Like,
yeah, I mean, there are some that do, sure.
Like, I know Asus makes a phone that has something stupid like 28 hours of video.
Yeah.
So for a phone like that, I think you would definitely want control of it. I mean, I guess Apple might.
Well, I think if they had a phone that did that, they would probably do the reasonable thing, which would be not like, I mean, they're only throttling it when it's like severely degraded. Like you've charged like if the phone has 500 normal like cycles of battery and you've used 1,000, and the battery life's like just kind of, maybe it's 7 or 8 hours as it is normally, but if they don't degrade the performance, and then it drops down to like 2 hours. Yeah,
I mean, regardless, I think I'd like to have the choice over what's happening with the hardware that I paid for.
Yeah. Well, I mean, ultimately, I think they could just do a better job of saying, hey, like, you should replace your battery because the performance isn't as good as it could be, or something.
Yeah, and I don't think any.
And they're not even. It's like I think it's like $100 to replace the battery if you like do it through them, which I think. It's not even, I mean, it's really not even that expensive.
You could also do it yourself.
So, right.
The battery is probably the easiest thing to change in phones. I know people don't like opening them up, but like it's literally just connecting a cable and then making sure you don't bend the lithium-ion battery and fucking kill yourself. But
yeah.
But aside from the threat to your health, from a battery exploding, it's pretty easy.
Yeah, I just figured that was because I mentioned before the show and you were like, no, don't do that to my phone. And I'm just like, not a big deal. So, but that's neither.
I don't like people doing things to my technology they didn't ask for in the first place.
Well, I mean, they like give you a phone and like it has an operating system on it, so they already like it already starts there. You're just drawing a line at that.
Well, I try to draw a line as fast as I can. It's just everyone wants to keep overstepping it.
Yeah.
Stop forcing me to update. Stop asking me to update. If I want to update, I'll update. If I need to update, I'll update. Actually, I don't care about your updates.
Yeah. So
unless you give me a reason to.
So that's one of the differences I think between iOS and Android. Is like, when an update comes out for iOS, like everybody is like, I can't wait to update because it's always like a good thing. It's always performance improving and new features and all this stuff. It's never like bad. Like I don't know if you've seen the adoption rates. Like when when Apple releases like a new major iOS update, it's like 90% within the first month or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't. I mean, I think it's reflexive for me too, right? Because Windows had a habit of like updating at inconvenient times and just making you miserable. Like, I'm sure the updates are mostly fine, but I would like to have that choice.
Yeah. Yeah, it's another thing again. Like, I don't mind. I actually look forward to updates. So in related, not related, debate and discussion news, there was an article from CityLab about the rental housing market. So since 2005, so this year is the first time since 2004, 2005 that the rental housing market actually slowed down. So
explain what slowed down means.
So slowed down means less construction of rental houses.
So I mean,
and some of the expansion would be like converting single family homes into, I guess. So those big house. I don't know. They have like some big houses that are single family homes, and they turn them into like 2-family homes or just something like that. And
right. I mean, I was talking more about the data because looking at the graphs that CityLab's posted, it looks like what they're actually talking about is that the rate of increase of the market share of renting is decreasing. So the rate of increase is decreasing, which is saying that like that's like the derivative of the market. So the speed at which renting is capturing the market is slowing down.
Yeah, which is good because, well, it's good and bad. Although I think last week we were talking about how buying a house is like kind of a stupid investment.
It's not an investment.
Yeah, so it's a stupid investment. But at the same time, I'm not a big fan of like everybody like living like serfs and just renting. So I don't really know. So like on one hand, I'm kind of encouraged by this, but on the other hand, it's like I don't want people buying houses unless they're also saving for retirement before they're doing that. So
the proletariats are soon to be taken over by the rent-seeking bourgeoisie.
I think so, Trevor. I think in like our first or second episode, we were talking about like Columbus was like the #1 market for apartments or something.
Yeah,
like the hottest apartment market in the country.
It's been #1 and #2 all the time, or for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, all you have to do is like you just drive downtown or like just if you came to Columbus and you just started like you could start on either side of like if you just started on the north end of town or either south end of town, whichever one, and then you just take High Street all the way down, like you will see an insane number of like new constructions, and that's just on High Street. So there's definitely a lot more like rentals going up. So
to be fair, it's High Street.
Yeah, true. Like especially around campus. I was on campus last weekend, and I mean, there's a lot of people who want to like live on campus, but they don't want to live in those slumlord like houses. So,
what do you mean want to live off campus?
Well, yeah, but they want to live like close to campus, but
they don't want to live in the garbage housing.
Yeah, which is all of the housing surrounding campus, basically.
Hey, I lived there for a summer.
Yeah, wasn't it garbage?
I've
been to some of those houses, and I don't know, they were really disgusting.
Oh, okay. I actually, that's the place I got bed bugs. That was the most miserable thing in my life.
Getting bed bugs?
Yeah. No, it's terrible. I mean, you're right. The housing is cheap and kind of shitty.
Yeah.
And it has bed bugs.
Yeah. What would be nice is if it was cheap and nice, but okay.
That never happens, Eric.
Yeah, that's true. All right. So I don't know so you're probably not going to believe this, but I actually think this is kind of cool. So Netflix and Spotify have recently started doing some ads where they're looking at user data and like tweeting about it or like putting up ads in like the subways and stuff like that in like New York or wherever. And like one of them was like a tweet. It was like to the person who's watched, or like to the 53 people who have watched this movie every day for the last 23 days, like we're here for you, or something like that. And all of a sudden there were a whole bunch of people who were like outraged. You're like, oh, that's so creepy. You're like watching you're paying attention to my viewing habits and all that kind of stuff. And like, that's one area where I just like do not care at all. Like I don't, or like, so, well, here's, so one of the, on the, like the article we have, like one of the billboards this one was from Spotify, and it says 2018 goals: deliver burns as and this is what like the ad says deliver burns as well as the person who streamed Bad Liar 86 times the day Sean Spicer resigned. Like that's just funny. Like I don't know. So I don't know why people were freaking out over that. Like it's completely anonymous. And even if it's not, it's like,
well, you don't know that it's anonymous, but I will say everybody's reaction to this is nonsense. Like, what did you think? Netflix, Spotify, Facebook, Google, Amazon. I can continue the list, but do you think they're not spying on you? You think they don't have your data? But the thing is, I think the ad campaign is actually dumb for a completely different reason.
Okay, well, hold on. I'm gonna. So the first one I was talking about from the Netflix, it was So the actual tweet was, to the 53 people who watched A Christmas Prince every day for the past 18 days, who hurt you? Which I think it's funny. But I do think it's different than, like, this is, to me, it's a totally different, like, ball game than, like, Google, for example. But
so what I'm saying is I think a lot of the data they have here is probably people just auto playing something or like a connection getting interrupted and reconnecting. So I think it's kind of like, I mean, nobody's watching the same movie like for 2 hours a day.
I don't know.
18 days in a row.
You'd be surprised. I've known some crazy people.
I mean, I think it's more likely that maybe somebody has like has Netflix on in the office and they're just playing like the same run of movies or something.
Yeah.
Something like that I think is more common. I don't like the idea they're pushing that like there are actually people out there who are say watching the same show, 86 times in one day.
Well, there was so yeah, there's another one. It was like a big billboard, and it said this one is from Spotify too, and it said 2018 goals: eat vegan brisket with the person who made a playlist called Leftist Elitist Snowflake Barbecue. So somebody like made that as a as like a playlist or whatever.
Yeah, I don't get the joke of that playlist. Like I don't get the like, what is the name?
Oh, it just says eat vegan brisket with the person
I
who
get that.
Okay, made the playlist, and the playlist was Leftist Elitist Snowflake Barbecue.
Like, I'm just trying to figure out, is the name ironic? Is it not?
I don't know. It could be either. It's probably ironic, but...
Yeah, I mean, my guess is it's ironic, but I'm curious as to what's on the playlist.
Yeah. See, now you're going to go get a Spotify account and find that playlist. But
I already have it. I have a Spotify
So
account.
can you find playlists that other people have made?
You can find public playlist, yeah.
Ooh, I wonder if it's public. You can do that, and then you can track them down, and you can get all their personal data.
Or just kill them.
Oh.
Because usually people have their Spotify accounts linked to their Facebook.
That's true. And see, Facebook's the real problem there. But yeah, so I mean, there are a bunch of people who are like freaking out, calling it creepy and stuff, and it's like, I mean, it's not like they're.
No, Eric, listen. I want you to think about this from a different way, because you might enjoy this. This is actually really good, because normal people do not give a fuck if you do not like put the fact that you're basically spying on them, because we know this. We know that we're being spied on all the time.
Yeah.
And people have basically known that, but the government was doing it since like Snowden linked.
Well, the government's been doing it since there was a government.
But what I'm saying is like in very specific detail since like the Snowden leaks.
Yeah.
But normal people do not care unless you put it in front of their faces. And every time you put it in front of normal people's faces, they're like, this is gross, this is creepy, stop this. And then they forget. So I think just constantly reminding people that like they're being surveilled by,
everybody.
Yeah, and large entities who don't have their best interest at heart, I think is a good thing.
Yeah.
Like, I enjoy this reaction because people need to be responding this way.
Yeah.
You and I know this is...
See, but I want them responding like that to the actual big problems, which are companies like Google and Facebook.
Here's the thing, though. Like, that never ends up making the news. So when something that's far less egregious gets this kind of reaction, I think it's good because...
Trevor, I think what we need to do is we need to come up with, like, a series of ads ourselves. And it'll be like... hey, Google's like watching you, or like Google's following you around or something like that. Just like the same thing like these ads, but just like we'll just do that and we'll somehow pay for that.
Yeah, the problem is you need money.
Yeah.
There's no money to be made in like, getting people concerned about their own privacy.
Right.
I mean, look at Mozilla. They're kind of just chugging along with not that much budget, and they're probably one of the most valuable companies that exists in the world. I mean, as far as like the public interest,
right? But yeah, I mean, so I get that. At least with like Netflix and Spotify, you're actually like paying for a service, and they typically use the data to improve the service versus like trying to sell you ads or something. So now, if Netflix starts selling ads, I'll just immediately cancel my account. But
That is one nice thing about Spotify too, is that there's no ads if you are premium.
Yeah, which is fine. Like, I'm fine with that.
All right, you had something about. You have an article written by Sam Altman
Again, for those second week in a row.
Founder, Y Combinator, etc. We went through this last week.
Yeah. So he he does like a little blog, and so does like Paul Graham and those guys. But what he said was, what Sam Altman said was so I'm quoting his, the first paragraph of what he wrote was, earlier this year I noticed something in China that really surprised me. I realized I felt more comfortable discussing controversial ideas in Beijing than in San Francisco. I didn't feel completely comfortable. This was China after all, just more comfortable than at home. And he goes on to say, it seems easier to accidentally speak heresies in San Francisco every year. Debating a controversial idea, even if you 95% agree with the consensus side, seems ill-advised. This will be very bad. And he says, his like angle is just like bad for startups and new ideas, which is right. It is. But he goes on to say that, well, people like Isaac Newton or Satoshi Nakamoto, who, like, the alias for whoever invented Bitcoin, and people who work, like, one of the things he wrote in here was where is it? He wrote that somebody's working on pharmaceuticals for intelligence augmentation, genetic engineering, and life extension, like that type of work. And somebody said, if people live a lot longer, it will be disastrous for the environment. So people working on this must be really unethical. And that was like a quote that somebody had for based on like this person doing that work. So it's really bad for innovation for sure, because innovation comes from challenging convention and combining new things in ways that were otherwise not noticed or what have you. So it was kind of, it was an interesting article, because like we've touched on this a few times at San Francisco and maybe California, but generally the quote unquote like liberal elite type people. I
always go with the left coast. It's a cute name.
Yeah, left. But see, the only problem is it doesn't make sense geographically, because.
What are you talking about? You have, so
you're forgetting like the New Yorks of the world and those.
Well, there's like New York City, and then there's like the left coast.
Yeah.
Because even like most of New England, I don't think is nearly as
no,
like,
I don't think it is either.
Ivory Tower liberal is as most of California, and then of course Portland and Seattle.
Yeah.
And that's why it gets called the left coast, is because those two cities exist. Otherwise, it would just be California.
Yeah, true.
And more specifically, SoCal, or everything
north, like
everything south of like San Francisco and San Francisco.
Yeah. So, I guess so. Basically, I wanted to bring up this article because I do think it's even like it goes back to the one guy from Google who wrote that one article about like his views on the differences between like men and women in the workplace or whatever.
James Damore.
Yeah. One of the interesting things he wrote that I actually empathize with was that he said that he finds, and he identifies with this as well, that in some organizations women may typically be more likely to contribute in like multiple different areas versus like I have to own this one project and I'm in charge of that and blah blah blah, whereas like somebody who is more of a collaborator, which I find myself in like my own work, I don't own any sort of one thing. I just help out in a bunch of different areas. And then companies like Google are a lot more inclined to reward somebody who's in charge of like the big, they're in charge of the big product, they're in charge of the big program, they're in charge of like this one thing, versus somebody who might do more to contribute to the overall organization in multiple different silos. So
yeah, to be fair, that's not.
But you can't say that, because then it's like you can't even suggest that might be a thing, because then it turns into some misogynist, craziness.
Misogynist.
Yeah,
I think there's a hard G in that word.
I don't know.
Massage.
I like misogynist.
Anyways, so what I was going to say is I don't think that's a Google. I mean, this is an aside, but I don't think that's a Google problem. I think that's in any company with more than like 500 employees problem.
Oh yeah, sure. I think it's just amplified out there.
For some reason, ownership is always associated with like success, and it's kind of a nonsense metric, right? It certainly might be disadvantaging women if women are more likely to sort of, or I guess less likely to specialize in sort of service jack of all trades, and it hurts people like us too, because I think we both fall into that camp.
Yeah.
But you're right. I mean, I think anytime you sort of talk about potential differences in the average male and the average female,
Yeah, like women on average are more intelligent than men. Like if you look at IQ tests.
really,
Yeah.
I guess that wouldn't be surprising.
Yeah. And men typically fall higher on, and it's just an IQ test. And I don't want to say you should discredit IQ tests because I don't know enough about it to say either way. I mean, they do have some validity, I'm sure, but men tend to skew very much higher on either side, like either the genius or the complete idiot spectrum, and women on average are just, as a group, are just, if you took all women, all men, women on average, the normal distribution is just women are more intelligent. So
right, and women tend to be far more average on average. I mean,
yeah.
That's
the whole point of it. It's not as I can't remember what the term is where it's like the actual distribution of like a normal curve for men is just just has longer tails on either side. So
and I mean, it's a known fact that the majority, or possibly even the supermajority of mentally handicapped people are men.
Yeah.
And that goes for mental retardation, that goes for autism. Yep. In general, I think, and it's not just intelligence either. Men tend to represent the extreme ends of the spectrum and tend to genetically,
like there are more male murderers. There are more male
almost
firefighter heroes running in and saving people. I mean, men fall on on both sides of the spectrum much more than women do.
I mean, I think in general men are just less genetically stable. Like
we're kind of crazy.
I mean, it's just a known thing.
Yeah. But so like, let's say like everything we said right now is just complete garbage. Like, let's say that we had thought something and that we had said these words, even though I think we're probably right, but we had said these words and we were just having a discussion or something like that. This is like off limits in some cities.
Places,
which is a huge problem because it's like you can't even discuss an idea.
What we just said, if we worked for Google and we were recorded saying this,
we would get fired just like the guy did.
Actually, yeah, since we have our names attached to this, if we worked for Google, this would literally probably get us fired if we had more than 7 listeners.
Yeah, which we do, by the way. So.
But yeah, it's. I also want to point out that his perception of China was nonsense. It's a very well known thing, I guess, in communities that are sort of, I guess, even on the periphery of like Chinese culture.
Yeah,
China is very, very. I mean, it's a lot more openly political, and people disagree with things as long as you don't like directly challenge the government. And you're not like an important person.
Yeah.
The Chinese government doesn't give a shit about you.
Yeah.
Like you can be like pro Tibetan independence, or sorry, Taiwanese independence.
No. Wait. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I don't know why I confused those two. But and the government won't care unless you're like a person of prominence or you're directly attacking the government in supporting that. Yeah. Like it's even though it's not in their interests, they don't really care. And so the culture is actually hyper political. Like Beijing has a reputation of being like the most political city in the world. Like everybody has like
their
strong fringe political opinions. Yeah. So I would not have had that thought at all.
Yeah.
Just don't talk about the party and you're fine.
Yeah, but yeah. So maybe it was that was a problem on Sam Altman's end, but I still do think that it highlights a problem we have pretty much with, and San Francisco it seems like that's the hot spot. And on the other hand, though, I think I don't know, like I think for most, even in like a city like San Francisco, like most people you talk to would probably be at least polite and reasonable, but there's like a domineering culture of you can't say this, you can't do this. Blah,
I would say most people, sure, most quote unquote like successful people, that might not be the case.
Yeah.
Anything that sort of looks a little bit controversial, people are immediately going to like flee away from you really quickly, or they're going to challenge you, depending on like how much of a majority of opinion they think. I mean, like you can present an opportunity where it's very easy for somebody to virtue signal against you. Depending on the circles you're running in.
Right.
And I think that's a problem with like San Francisco.
Yeah. But anyway, I guess we've talked about that before, but it was just I just wanted to rehash it because it's fun to. I don't know. It's kind of fun to talk. Well, it's sad and depressing to talk about, but it's fun to like criticize. So.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know why this was the case. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, it's like you would think of all the places. Like, I mean, like to me, like it's an area like I mean, do you really think like if somebody came and they're like like today, if somebody was like, hey, like I want to make a new currency to like challenge the dollar or something like that. I mean, I don't know. I don't really feel like that's like if you just came outright and say those kinds of things or whatever. I don't know. Like I would feel nervous saying this, like those kinds of things. Like if it's not some mainstream like narrative idea that they already have, then you know.
I don't know. I think I've stopped caring. I'm pretty open off the cuff anymore.
Yeah. That's gonna get you killed in San Francisco, Trevor.
Nah.
They're gonna send the liberal thought police after you.
I've seen those dudes fight though. I'm not in any.
Yeah.
I've seen.
You gotta worry about the women.
What?
You gotta worry about the women. They'll beat
Why?
you up. They'll just beat you up. You can't do anything about it.
I carry weapons on me. Californians aren't allowed to do that. They wouldn't know how to respond.
Well, I'm saying if you go there on their home turf, though,
Well,
they'll probably just like shame you to death.
Well, it looks like soon I might be able to conceal carry there. So you know.
Oh yeah, that's true.
They wouldn't know what to do. They'd see a firearm. They'd probably start crying.
Yeah.
All right. Well, should we move on to our feature then?
Let's do it.
So to start off our feature, I wanted to talk about a happening in the web world today.
Cool. Okay, let's do it.
Or a couple days ago, actually, I guess.
That's false advertising, Trevor. I want it today, not a few days ago.
All right, we'll pretend it's
We
today.
need up-to-date news.
We'll pretend it's today. Okay. So the 4chan owner, who I don't know if you know, but a couple of years ago, 4chan changed hands and is now owned by Hiroyuki Nishimura.
Yeah, I did not know that, but
So, anyways, he implemented a script that since they have a hard time finding advertisers on 4chan, basically what the script does is it mines cryptocurrency using JavaScript in the background of your browser. And we've talked about stuff like this before.
yeah, I think we touched on it as like being a really bad, annoying. I hope your company bursts into a ball of flames type thing that they do.
But 4chan is by far the largest website that has implemented something like this.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, I guess 4chan is probably bigger than like other news sites, but I thought for sure that there were some random news sites that were doing that too or something.
I mean, 4chan hits top,
but
top
it's probably
100 in
like
traffic.
4chan is just a lot larger.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
And that's not even talking about, page views, because 4chan is one of those websites like Reddit that, punches way above its weight as far as like time spent and pages viewed per day goes. Because news sites generally it's like under a dozen.
Yeah.
So I thought I just wanted to talk to you about this and how this trend is clearly growing, right?
Yeah, I don't see it. I mean, first of all, this isn't going away because it's too easy to do. And basically, like, people want to make more money, and this is a way to do that. And they're going to get a lot of unsuspecting people, like people like your grandma or somebody like that who probably doesn't even.
My grandma's posting on 4chan.
Yeah, but they go to like a news website, like the local newspaper who got sold. Some kids came in and they were like, "Hey, local newspaper, like if you just install this, then with a slight fee, to us or whatever, like you'll be able to." Mine Bitcoin or like news coin or something like that. And, then poor grandma or grandpa here is like, oh, my computer's slow. And like, I'm, using my computer to make these other people money, but they won't even know that and like that kind of stuff. So it's not going away, which is unfortunate, but I do think it could be used for good. I wouldn't be opposed. So if good, like reputable, like let's say news organizations, maybe this is an avenue for them to make money. I don't have a problem like while I'm using their site, and as long as it's not degrading like the performance of my computer overall, like not like as long as it's not a huge problem, which it probably would be. But if while I was using their site and they didn't charge me money and there were no ads and they were saying, hey, we're going to use this to like mine some cryptocurrency, that's not a big deal to me. I don't have a problem paying for that as long as it's like it's up front. I know that I'm doing it. They know that they're doing it. And like the transaction is I don't have to deal with stupid ads or like paywalls or any of that kind of stuff. And I get to enjoy the content while I'm on the site. They can, use a little bit of my processor to make some money. I don't think they would make enough money though, which is probably the problem. But.
Well, it depends on what they're mining, because some what do you call them? Some cryptocurrencies are basically bound to the CPU and can't be sort of
they can't use the ASIC.
Yeah, the work can't be abstracted into an ASIC. So
that's good. Yeah.
So for those types of currencies, they're making. Those are probably the ones they're working with, because you just can't compete with an ASIC with a CPU. It's just not possible. Right. You're operating on like 1/10,000th of the efficiency.
Right.
But I think I'm actually, this is a California controversial opinion, by the way, but I think I'm actually in favor of this over advertisements.
Oh yeah.
Like if you're not going to show me, like I would 100% of the time prefer this over advertisements.
Yeah. Because frankly, we're sitting here on the podcast. At any given time throughout my day, I probably a max of 7% of my processor is actually being used for anything. Yeah. Every computer, basically, this goes for just about any computer. The processor isn't really doing much. It's not your performance bottleneck, right? So, if I could do that, and then that would translate into revenue for a company, then I don't have to see all these stupid ads, these malware intrusive, ads or whatever. Like, I'm all for that as long as it makes sense. And I was thinking, like, wouldn't that be a cool, like, what if you could do, so the whole, the whole folding at home program. Yeah. Like, what if we could do that in the browser too? That'd be kind of cool. I wouldn't mind doing that. Like, if I go, I guess you could just download the software on your computer, but maybe NASA or somebody it's like, hey, like, do this and we'll run some computation or something.
Yeah. So here's something I was actually thinking. I think compared to advertisement, this is actually a much, much better revenue model. Because they're essentially paying you instead of like, clickbait being the successful model, because the goal is eyeballs and advertisements, right? Yeah. The goal here is like time interacted with content.
Yeah, so they have to create deeper, richer content. Or on the other hand, though, they could do the Facebook model and like get you addicted to the website. So
I still think
I'm still saying it's better, but because they're trying to do that anyway.
Right. Worst case, we're talking infinite scroll versus clickbait, right? Which do you prefer?
Right. Infinite scroll, obviously. So
all right. So yeah, if this is used as an alternative to advertisement, I'm fine with it. And if it's used on top of advertisement, which a lot of times it probably will be,
like 100% going to be the case, I'm sure.
I don't know. I think there have to be some websites that are I don't know. Like, advertisement just has to go away eventually. It's becoming so much less successful. Yeah. Like, if the golden age of advertisement was like the 50s.
Yeah.
Of
like print advertising and stuff, you mean?
Yeah, in general, I think that's like around the time.
Yeah. Have you ever watched Mad Men?
No.
That's a good show. You should watch it.
Well, I've seen like an episode. But anyways.
Well, yeah, but you got to watch the whole show.
Okay. So if that was like the golden age of advertisement, right now I think we're in like the garbage age of advertisement, where like, I think it's legitimately hard if you are an advertiser to find some place you want to advertise, and because you can't trust anybody right now, right? Yeah. Television sucks for advertising because the only people who are like, there are certain demographics like us which are just flat out missing from television. Yeah. And then to get those demographics, you have to go on the web, but you can't trust anyone on the web. Everybody is trying to exploit everyone else. The relationships between advertisers and the managers is absolutely terrible. And so like, it just sucks to be an advertiser, and no one's able to make money off of it because no one's able to like form relationships with advertisers. So I think this is a better alternative for everyone. Just stop showing us ads. That's the real key you've got to push for, though.
That's why, like, I don't know. Some of my friends have been pretty like bullish on companies like Google and Facebook and all them, and I'm thinking they're like the oil and gas industry in terms of they're not. They like Google search is like, and it's like the contribution of that to humanity is fantastic, but so was the invention of the automobile engine and using oil and gasoline for those kinds of things.
Hey, Eric, there's still cars.
Right. But they're moving. They're at least. But I don't know. There's a lot of
You could say like the chariot. That would be a better example.
no. I think the chariot didn't really like pollute the environment though. So
Do you think advertisements?
it pollutes our minds? That's what I think. So
Anyways, my point, I guess, is just that like this could be a much better revenue structure and model for people, or I mean for everyone, like the people, than advertisements are.
yeah, I
It's
agree.
certainly less annoying. And crypto clearly isn't going away, so that aspect of it, I think, is fine.
Yeah.
Because this whole thing is predicated on this magic bean money we have now.
Yeah, so that's why I think all the big and small news organizations should get together and create like a news coin, just like news coin, NEWS coin.
But what's the value? What's the value?
Well,
prop?
they'll just create it and it'll just be like any other cryptocurrency. Like they'll make it and then it'll like all the news sites will distribute it to other news sites and then they'll use it to like they run it on their news site and like make money on it.
Oh, there's got to be some value prop though.
Yeah, the value prop is like you're like buying into the ecosystem. Like you're helping out the news organization by not like they're stopping the ads and then you're like you like we talked about like you're using your computer to buy coins for them.
But what can you buy with it?
Well, they'll just pay their employees with it or something.
I mean, that might.
Or
work.
maybe they could change it in some other currency or sell it for dollars or something. I don't know.
I mean, they could just use an existing crypto. See, this is
they could, but I'm just saying
this is one of
their own.
This is one of the problems with cryptocurrencies is like there's this constant desire people have to like not
to create their own new pyramid scheme.
Yeah. I mean, because so like what's the major use case for Newscoin that couldn't be solved with say ETH? Because you could even do automatic payroll with ETH via smart contract.
Yeah, but then it's not Newscoin, so
it's dumb. All right.
I thought about maybe we should make like Buckeye coin, or Columbus coin, like have our own coin here in Columbus.
Cardinal coin.
Yeah, you can only like spend it here. That'd be great.
All right. Well, I think that's it for this story. So we are both tentatively pro people exploiting our computers then.
Yeah,
Cool.
Which is funny because I don't think you'd think that coming from us. But
yeah, I mean the alternative is literally advertisements though. So
yeah, or the never-ending race between ad blockers and advertisers. But
yeah, JavaScript is really. There's some websites like the entirety of Wikia which I can't even use anymore because like they implement these anti-ad block scripts and it just fights with like Ghostry and other stuff I have, and there's like this struggle in my browser to like to try and like be the the one who comes on top and my CPU is shooting up because it's terrible. I hate how like I swear to God it's like 20% of websites now are actively working against ad blockers, and so my CPU spikes up and the page on this fantastic like $1,000 computer I have stalls for like several seconds, as if it's like 1993.
Yeah, computers. Maybe we should just stop like using computers.
We should become Luddites. We should go live out in the woods.
I'm thinking about it.
Anarcho-primitivism?
Yeah. All right.
Well, let's go line people up against the trees, Eric.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this has been Columbus this week. Thank you for joining us, and you'll be next on the tree.